Everyone. So for the speed book dating activity, I decided to pick The True Story of the Three Little Pigs by John Skeska and illustrated by Lane Smith. But an interesting part of the story is this book is actually narrated by none other but the wolf himself. And in the book, the wolf is trying to prove his innocence. Um, and this is a great example for students to learn about this, that they can't just rely on one person's opinion or point of view, and they get to hear the opinion of the wolf, who was always targeted as the big bad wolf. Now, if you've heard of the story of the Three Little Pigs when you were younger, you've heard that the wolf huffed and puffed and blew their houses down. But however, this is a little different from the wolf's point of view. As you can see in this diagram, he says sneeze plus sugar. And you're probably wondering why it says sneeze before going up to the two little pigs' houses that he first encountered of straw and sticks. Now, when he got the sneeze, this is how the wolf blew the houses down, and he couldn't hold back his opportunity to have a little snack on his way to find the sugar. We get to see a different point of view, which is good for students in elementary school because they are learning about different points of view for people. And through all their lives, and our lives mostly, we've only knew the story of the Three Little Pigs where the wolf was a big bad wolf who blew the houses down. But in this story, it shows them as different. It was merely a mistake. What this book is, it doesn't stray far away from the original story in a way. And on this page, it actually says, I rang the bell on the stick house. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, wolf. You can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. And I think that's really nice for students if they did read the story or was told a story when they were a child, because they get to connect back to it. But again, they're hearing the wolf's point of view from it. So they get to hear those two different sides. I believe that this book is actually good for probably second to fourth graders, around there, because it actually has a lot of idioms within it. And an example is on this page. It says, when the dust cleared, there was a second little pig, dead as a doornail, wolf's honor. As you can see, like, there's not a lot of bright colors. It's more like monotone. So, I guess, like, I have gone to these settings if you step out on a really dark, dreary day, but I think the illustrator actually did that on purpose in order to convey, like, this is the wolf's story. He's showing that he got the bad ending, and he wants people to see, like, what actually happened through his point of view. Fairly understandable for kids who's learning to read. I mean, as I said, I think it would be better for a student who's in kindergarten or first grade to have this book read to, so they, like, understand what's going on, because also the teacher who's reading this can kind of, like, show through their voice, their tone, what's actually going on. What I could say about the book that maybe it might be a little difficult is, like I said, the idiomatic phrases that are said in it. The dead as a doornail is actually repeated about 3 times, which that's really good because they're rehearing it, so they'll understand it more. But I think at first, a younger student who is reading this might get a little confused. And another thing is, like I talked about with the illustrations, it is a little dark, and it does talk about eating little furry animals, and I don't know if that would, like, bother a little kid or something. I actually remember reading this when I was a child. I love this book. I thought it was so interesting to hear the wolf's point of view from it. But again, it all depends on the student, because no student is the same, UDL, and some might react differently to the story. You never know. One around grades 2 or 3 who will be reading it, but I think that this is a really good book to start off with as a teacher or a parent is reading to a student in kindergarten or first grade, because it has a lot of rich vocabulary within it, and it also shows a lot of emotions. Like, from the wolf's point of view, as you can see in this picture, he kind of looks like sad. He has his cold, like he just wants the sugar, and you can see how they portrayed the pig this time, and he looks pretty angry. And I think the illustrations actually help the story so much. Like I said before, I really enjoyed reading this book. It kind of hit back the memories of me reading it when I was younger. And I think students will enjoy reading it too because illustrations are great. The story is told very well through the wolf's point of view. And again, it has those idiomatic phrases that will make more sense to a student as they read the book more and more. So, yeah, if out of a rating, I would probably give it maybe like a 4 out of 5. The reason why I've voted this a 4 out of 5 is because for younger kids, it might be a little difficult to understand what the wolf is trying to prove through his own recounts. I think for maybe a child in second or third grade, it would make so much more sense. But for kindergarten and first grade, they might just be like, "Oh, here's a wolf. He's trying to eat the pigs, but he didn't." Something like that, because that's a story that they grew up and known. And we know that kids use their own experience to kind of influence different things within their life. So I feel like their own experiences, knowing that story from when they're younger, might affect how they see this book and how it's different from the original tale. In general, I think this is a great book. John Skeska did a great job telling the story and even including by a wolf in the cover to show like this is like a newspaper article, like he's telling a story. Like I think that's great. And yeah, I really recommend everyone to read this book, and I had a great time reading it.